Shall we start by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times? Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone. Last time we have discussed mental factors, the universal mental factors, and occasional. So there are 13. Passa, Vedana, Sanya, Cetana, Ekaggata, Jivitindriya, Manasikara, and occasionals, Vitakka, Vichara, Adhimukha, Viriya, Piti, Chanda. So we have also enumerated the Cetasikas arise, Cetasikas that associate the Chittas. And also I have given exercise to find out the Cetasikas, especially in the Ahetuka Chittas. Today we are going to discuss unwholesome mental factors. There are 14 unwholesome mental factors altogether. So today we are going to discuss these 12 unwholesome factors. So we can divide these unwholesome factors, unwholesome mental factors, into 5 categories. What are them? Sabba Akusala Sadharana. Then in Pali, Lobatika. Then Dosa Chatukka. And Tina Midda and Vichakiccha. Sabba Akusala Sadharana means there are 4 unwholesome mental factors, universal for all the unwholesome chittas. Now we know there are 12 unwholesome chittas. So these 4 mental factors arise with those 12 unwholesome chittas. Therefore, we call them Sabba Kusala Sadharana. They are 4. Moha, ignorance. Ahirika, moral shamelessness. Anuttappa, moral fearlessness. Uddhacca, restlessness. So there are 4 Sabba Kusala Sadharana. Lobatika, there are 3 mental factors arise with Lobamula Chittas. They are Lobha, greed, Ditti, wrong view, Mana, conceit. We call pride. The next one, Dosa Chatukka. Hatred, quartet. There are 4 mental factors arise with 2 Dosa Mula Chittas. Dosa, Issa, Maccariya, Kukkucca. Dosa, anger. Issa, envy or jealous. Maccariya, avarice or stinginess. Kukkucca, regret. So these four mental factors arise with two dosa-mula cittas. Next group, sloth diet, sloth and torpor, Tina and Middha. These two Cetasikas rise together. Last one, Vicikiccha, doubt. So we have to memorize these 5 groups in accordance with their associations. Now the first one, among the 4 unwholesome universal mental factors, the first one is moha, delusion. Independent origination, we termed it as avidya. In English, we call ignorance. We have learned, we classify ultimate realities with regards to 4 aspects: characteristic, function, manifestation, and proximate cause. Here we are going to, we don't want to discuss all, but we pay attention for some aspects, not all. So when we concern about the characteristic of moha, it's like a mental blindness or unknowing. Suppose when someone covers your eyes with wrapping black cloth, you can't see anything outside. You can see only the blindness. You can see only darkness. It's like a darkness also, another simile. You can't see the reality because of the delusion. Suppose you are in a dark room, you cannot see the things kept in that room. You can't see the reality. Similarly, the nature of the moha is like a darkness or like a cover which covers the reality, that do not give the opportunity, do not open to see the reality as it is. Also, Chandamila Mahathera gave another simile. It's like a colored glass. For example, when we wear a sunglass, you see the outside world influenced by the color of that glass. If your glass is blue, you see the many things like blue. If it's red, we see the outside things reddish, as reddish objects. So ignorance appears in various aspects that covering the reality. Actually, what is the reality? The suffering and the real cause of suffering. and the real happiness and the real path to the happiness. Suppose we consider usually people consider these 5 aggregates as pleasurable things. When we contemplate the reality of 5 aggregates, it's not pleasurable. It has little satisfaction, although with many thousands of suffering, thousands of dangers. But ordinary people consider these 5 aggregates as the thing that give the pleasure. Reality, it gives more and more suffering because of these 5 aggregates. We are encountering with many problems: aging, sickness, various types of many problems. Avidya, or ignorance, covers that reality, the suffering nature. It shows us these 5 aggregates as pleasurable thing. Also, scholars mention that it's like a poison cake. When we see decorated cake, so we want to eat it, but if it's poisoned, if we eat it, it may lead us to death or a near incident of death. We get a strong sickness, very severe sickness because of this poison. But we can't understand just seeing the cake that is mixed with poison. Similarly, these 5 aggregates are concerned as the full of pleasure, concealed by the ignorance. The next thing, the cause of the suffering, that's craving, we will discuss later. Many people consider that the craving is not a cause for suffering. It's an essential factor to survive. According to the Buddhism, because of craving and the ignorance, those are the 2 main factors which gives the fuel to the volition of karma. Therefore, people cannot understand the real cause of the suffering due to the concealing of ignorance. And what is the real happiness? That's ultimate reality, ultimate bliss, nirvana. due to the concealing of ignorance, people cannot see the real happiness. They are wandering in samsara, this cycle of rebirth, for eons and eons, looking for the happiness that is not the real happiness. Then what is the real path to the happiness? Eightfold Noble Path. Suppose someone is going to ordain. The ordinary people generally think that. So it's very suffering life. How can they stay without eating at night? It's not easy to stay alone. So they think that the path to attaining the liberation is suffering, concealed by the delusion. This is just brief explanation for ignorance. The explaining how it conceals the reality. So you can think in your life how it covers the reality. Sometimes it shows us unwholesome thing as wholesome, bad thing as good thing as bad thing, wholesome as unwholesome, unwholesome as wholesome. Therefore, we need Dhamma knowledge and wise attention, wise contemplation to overcome this delusion. So this delusion or moha arise with all the unwholesome cittas. It associates 12 unwholesome cittas. So when we count the number of unwholesome, when we calculate the mental factors of unwholesome cittas, nothing to think about these four. We always add these four: moha, ahirika, anuttappa, and uddhacca. So let's move into the second mental factor of the universal four. Actually, we can discuss those Cetasikas as diet, group of two, ahirika and anuttappa. Simply we say shamelessness and fearlessness. Its a function is doing evil things. Commentary has given two similes to distinguish, to differentiate the nature of those two Cetasikas, Ahirika and Anuttappa. Ahirika is like a it's like a village pig. Excrement is not an attractive object. But village pig, eating without any disgust. It doesn't have disgust while eating excrement. Similarly, when ahirika arises in the mind, the shameness, our nature of the shame, drive away from our mind. Shamelessness arises. Shamelessness takes the place. For example, so we will take example after explaining also Anuttappa. So Anuttappa is the fearlessness of wrongdoing. It's like a moth. I think you have seen moth, the insect that comes to the especially lights when we kindle an oil lamp at the night, moths come. They touch with the flame, then fell down. Again, they come to the flame. They thought that's something pleasurable thing. We can't read their mind, but why they come to that flame again and again? Even they burn sometimes. Their feathers burn sometimes. Then they come again to the flame. Because the danger was covered by that fearlessness. Suppose people are afraid of doing, usually the knowledgeable or the moral people are also afraid of doing unwholesome actions, evil actions. Due to the encouragement or some other circumstances, their life. Suppose someone is going to steal. Usually, stealing is not a good action. So all the people, without considering the religion, the society, believe that stealing is not a good action. It's a bad action. If someone needs to steal, he should overcome his or her the shamelessness, and shamelessness arise. His moral shame go away. Shamelessness arise. And also people people know that if he or she would commit stealing, the bad result yield in the future, in this life or life after death. In this life, he will get punishments and fine or many other bad results. In next lives, he will get also bad results. To do unwholesome action, this moral fear should be overcome. Therefore, without moral fear, people cannot commit unwholesome actions, evil deeds. Therefore, fearlessness arises. Fearlessness of wrongdoing arises in their mind. Then they do not have a fear. They are not afraid of doing unwholesome actions. So let's discuss the proximate causes also. If you have moral shame, you respect yourself. You don't like to have a bad reputation. Those who have lack of respect for themselves, they do not have moral shame. Therefore, they commit unwholesome actions. The proximate cause for anuttappa, fearlessness, is lack of respect for others. Those who have respect for others, that means your friends, your parents, relatives, your teachers, then you have some fear that if I would commit bad deeds, they will blame me, or that's not good for their reputation. If people have moral fear, they restrain from unwholesome actions. They have a fear, they are afraid of bad results that will come in near future or later on. To do unwholesome action, those two Cetasikas should arise. Without having the support of these two, unwholesome consciousness is not able to arise. Therefore, these two Cetasikas, Ahirika and Anuttappa, arise, associate all the unwholesome chittas, 12 chittas. Next one is Uddhacca. That's also universal, unwholesome. Usually, we translate uddhacca as restlessness. Also, another term is distraction. Commentary has given a couple of similes to explain the nature of uddhacca. It's like a water whipped by the wind. You have experienced when you are standing or sitting on the shore, you can see the waves or ripples of the surface of the water when there is a strong wind, or you throw a piece of a stone to the river or the lake, then it generates waves. Similarly, when uddhacca arises in our mind, suppose, when we are in a very quiet situation, something happening accidentally, unexpectedly. Someone blame you, or you see some accident, or you receive some bad message, and someone blame you. What happened at that time? Your calmness go away. Another example, it's also a real example given in the commentary. It's compared to ashes which rise when rock is thrown into them. When you throw a piece of a stone to the pile of ashes, what happens? It is scattered everywhere outside. Also, it's manifest as turmoil. Now let's combine all the similes regarding the day-to-day life. As I mentioned, something happened unexpectedly, some bad thing, maybe accident. You face an accident, or you see car accident, or someone blame you, or you receive a message that your parents or your father or mother died accidentally. What happens? Our mind distract at that time. The steadiness destroyed. Our calmness, we can't find our calmness in our mind. Our mind is weeping or rippling or shaking, or we call it like a jumping. So we can find the nature of the mind. Or our steadiness, our calmness scattered away like a turmoil. Also, as I mentioned, that its literary meaning is shaking about like a rubber ball. When you bounce rubber ball, it bounces again and again and again. Similarly, about our mind, when unwholesome action arises, when we are going to commit unwholesome action, how our mind shake, how our mind trembling. That's the nature of the Uddhacca. So try to understand those natures. The learning is not only for just learning scriptural things, to learn unwholesome natures. To eradicate from the suffering, to eradicate those mental factors. Without knowing the cause, how can we remove our cause? Therefore, our learning is not only for the gain the knowledge, especially the main focus should be to get a support for the liberation. That should be our main focus. So those 4 mental factors associate all 12 akusala cittas, unwholesome cittas. Moha, ahirika, anuttappa, and uddhacca. Delusion, shamelessness, fearlessness, and restlessness. Those 4 mental factors arise with all 12 unwholesome cittas. Now let's move into the second group. Second group, there are 3 mental factors: lobha, ditthi, and mana. Greed, lobha, greed; ditthi, wrong view; mana, conceit. In Dhammasangani, this Lobha Cetasika, as explained with 100 words. In English, we can give some words that can be some aspects of lobha: greed or selfish desire, longing, attachment, clinging. We can give many terms to the lobha. You know, in Four Noble Truths, teaching of the Four Noble Truths, lobha is the cause for suffering. Let's try to understand the nature of the lobha. Greed or attachment. In commentary, it is compared to a pitch trap. I will explain what's that. It's also mentioned in Samyutta Nikaya. In the ancient time, hunters used to catch monkeys by using a trap. What's that trap? They apply gum on the trunk or branches of the trees. It's shining. You know the nature of the monkeys. They are very curious. When they see something new thing, they want to touch it. They want to open it. They want to get experience with the new objects. So what happens? Now hunters has applied gum. When monkeys see gum, they want to touch it. So it's shining, it's blazing. What happens? They first touch with one hand, one paw. Then suppose the left hand, they stick with left hand. They want to release, then they touch the right hand. Then both hands stick onto the glue. Then he touch with left foot, then with right foot. Then what happens? He make an effort, giving the effort by touching his head. Now his entire body stick to the glue, It can't release. Similarly, ordinary people attach to visible objects, sounds, smell, taste, tangible objects. It's like a glue. Loba is like a glue. When we attach to that object, it's not easy to get rid from that object. Especially living objects, animate. That's why people cry when they depart their parents, when their parents die. Therefore, people cry when they lost their properties, highly attached to their objects, like a glue. Another simile, like function, sticking as the meat sticks to hot pan. When someone put a piece of meat to a hot pan, it sticks with that pan strongly. Suppose when someone attached to a visible object, sound, smell, taste, or a person, or money, drugs, foods, or males or females, properties. So it's like a sticking, suppose. It burns. The piece of meat burns second by second, momentarily. When greed arises in our mind, stick with the object. like a piece of meat. So there are some examples given in the commentary, maybe nowadays. People die because of their greed. It's like also the fire that's burning nature actually obvious in anger or hatred. We will discuss later on. Also, it's very difficult to remove. Like oil put into your cloth. It's very difficult to remove. Therefore, try to understand the nature of the greed. When you understand the nature of greed, when that arises in your mind, you can overcome, you can abandon it easily. When you know your enemies, you can avoid them. When you don't know your enemies, they will harm you. When you understand our enemies, we can easily avoid the dangers. Dhammapada also mentioned that your parents, your relatives, your neighbors are not the person, or the thieves are not the person who gives you bad results or good results. Your wholesome mind brings good results. Your unwholesome natures, unwholesome mentalities give the bad results. Now, let's try to know the enumerates of. So here I want to explain the natures in this lesson than the numbers. However, so we have to know, we have to learn the numbers. I mean, calculation, the enumeration of those citta and cetasikas. It's not difficult. You know, when we see lobha, so just we have to think about lobha mula cittas. 8, greed-rooted consciousness. Lobha arrives in these 8 greed-rooted consciousness. Lobha associate those 8 greed-rooted consciousness. Next one, we will move to the next mental factor among these triad. It is the T, wrong view. It is said that its characteristic is unwise interpretation of things. For example, when wrong view arises in the mind, it interprets according to the wrong view. They interpret as there is no karma. There is no results of karma. No good results of doing wholesome actions, such as offering, practicing sila, virtue, doing meditation. So wrong view, when wrong view arises, that do not believe the reality, the law of the nature, I would call karma. It is manifested as a wrong interpretation of belief. So let's explain with a simile. Also, commentary has given that it's like the alligator, crocodile. When crocodile catches its prey, it grabs or it takes strongly, difficult to remove it. Similarly, when someone has wrong view, it's very difficult to remove. He or she holds that wrong view strongly. That's a reason to remove their wrong views. That's the nature of the wrong view. In the very beginning, it will be removed easily, but when it takes time, it's very difficult to remove. Especially when some wrong view rise in our childhood, when we grow up with that wrong views. When he or she become adult, it's very difficult to remove, overcome, even though they are well-educated people. Here, I don't want to mention the names. How many scholars or educated people holding strong wrong views. So therefore, having a right view, having the view of believing karma and its results, it's like opening the gate to do wholesome actions. In Buddhist perspective, to attain the nirvana, the complete liberation. So let's try to find the chittas that arise with wrong view. So it's also not difficult. Now you have learned unwholesome chittas. 12 akusala chittas. Among 12 akusala chittas, there are 8 lobhamula chittas. Among 8 lobhamula chittas, there are 4 ditthigata sampayutta, 4 ditthigata vipayutta. associated with wrong view, 4. The chittas associated with dissociated with wrong view, 4. So it's easy. Wrong view associate only for ditthigata sampayutta chittas. The chittas that associate wrong view. So ditthi arise for ditthigata sampayutta chittas. So I will give an exercise. Today I will not enumerate the Cetasikas of unwholesome chittas. So I will give exercise to find out the Cetasikas arise in unwholesome chittas. Next one, mana. So among the group of 3, lobha, ditthi, mana. Third one, mana. Mana is like it's a commentarial explanation, mentioned that it's like a mental madness. Haughtiness. When mana, especially the pride, arise in our mind, conceit arise in our mind, we don't like to be second. Always we want to be the first, the highest one. We don't like to accept others' ideas, like a flag waving in the wind. We want to be, the people want to be like a flag. They don't want to respect others, those who have the knowledge or those who are elder than them or higher than the virtue. So those people consider that. So I have money, I have knowledge, I have properties, I have cars and many things regarding many properties. I have degrees. Why should I respect them? Because of their mana or conceit. They don't want to pay respect to others. So try to understand when mana arises in our mind. When mana arises, conceit arises in our mind, it's not a pleasurable, it's not pleasable. It's not pleased to others. We don't like to associate the people, those who have conceit. It's not a comfortable. Similarly, conceit arises in your mind. Others also don't like to associate you. It's not a comfortable for them. If so, mana, how many chittas associate with mana? It's also not difficult. Just think about ditthigata vipayutta. The chittas do not associate from view. How many? There are 4. Mana associate, conceit associates 4 ditthigata vipayutta chittas. I will repeat again. Conceit or mana associate 4 ditthigata vipayutta chittas. The next group, the group of 4 with dosa, hatred. Dosa, vissa, maccariya and kukkucca. Hatred or anger, envy or jealous, stinginess, and regret. Sometimes we call worry. Those 4 Cetasikas arise with 2 dosamula chittas. So there are terms given by the scholars for dosa: aversion, ill will, anger, irritation, annoyance, animosity, and also depression and sorrow are the aspects of the dosa, some level of the dosa. It is compared to snake that's hit by someone, especially cobra. In Asian countries, so we have seen cobras, we have experienced. When someone hit with a stone to the cobra, it gets anger and try to hit, try to bite. Similarly, when we are in the calmness situation, our mind is very calm and quiet. When something happens, undesirable thing, when we object undesirable, especially, suppose someone blame you, then the snake, the dosa, rise. Also, it's like a fire. First, it burns our mind. When anger arises in your mind, when you pay attention carefully, you can understand the burning nature. It's like a burning of a heart. Because of this anger, it produces chitta jarupas. Mind produces matters. When someone gets anger, sorrow, depression, sometimes they will die by heart attack or some other disease. That's a burning nature of the hatred. It's like a bushfire. Flames again arise and arise again. The flame of hatred or anger arises in our mind again and again. Also, it's like a poison in water, mentioned by Sayadaw Silananda. When someone put poison in the water, it is spread. Similarly, when anger arises in our mind, it is spread and it spoils the wholesome nature of our mind. So try to understand these natures. When you understand these unwholesome natures, you can overcome them easily. As ordinary person, that's a nature. The unwholesome mental factors arise in our mind. Main thing is we should understand that is unwholesome and try to overcome. That should be our practice. One day we can eradicate it completely. As a practitioner, first we should understand that is unwholesome, that is lobha, that is anger. After that, try to overcome them with our practice. So we have many techniques to overcome those unwholesome mental factors. Not only the meditation. Meditation is one of the main. So the proximate cause is ground for annoyance. In brief, that means when someone harm you, so you think about he or she harmed me. In the past, now he is harming present. He will harm in the future. Similarly, for your relatives, so your parents, your friends, you think these three levels, three situations. And someone supports, someone help your enemies. Then anger arises in our mind. He supported to our enemies. He is supporting, he will support. Those are the grounds for annoyance. So another 10th one also. Someone get angry because of weather, because of wind. So he can find whatever reason to get to be angry. This is the 10th one. So when proximate cause arise, or when we encounter with them, be mindful. It will be the anger arise soon. Therefore, we should be mindful when we get such type of experiences. So those associates to those mula chittas, it's not also difficult. Those associates to those mula chittas. Next one is envy. It's a characteristic of being jealous of others' success. Function is to be dissatisfied with others' success. When we think about the students, the success of their friends, someone cannot appreciate it, cannot accept that nature with their mind. Not only for students or adults, when someone sees the success of others' life with their jobs, with the properties, and with their rankings, some people cannot bear up that nature. They try to criticize, or they may have done some robberies, or they may earn money in unjustice way. They may criticize because they can't see their success. They can't be satisfied with others' success. When those nature arise in our mind, so we should try to develop mudita, appreciative joy. We should try to appreciate their success. Although I can't achieve that levels, he or she has achieved. So we have to change our mind to overcome issa. Also issa or envy, jealous, associate to those mula chittas. Next one, maccharya, avarice or stinginess. Characteristic is concealing one's own success. So the nature of the maccharya is not like to share own properties or knowledge with others, not only properties, animate and inanimate things. It's like a shrinking away. Suppose when beggars come to our home or when we see beggars, if we have enough money or foods to give them, should be better to give, because sometimes they may not eat for few meals. If we conceal, if we hide the food or our things, there is a story of the stingy Brahmin who ate oil cake in his palace. So I don't want to explain this story. So think about that story. He didn't like to see cooking oil cake, even though he didn't like to share with his own wife. That's the nature. That when stinginess arises, he or she conceals his or her property. Don't like to use their properties by others. Especially the students, when they are studying, not all, some students, they don't like to share their notes, their knowledge with others. It's some kind of bad side in the student life. So if we can share our knowledge, it's a wholesome nature. If we don't want to share, if we conceal, when we share our knowledge, it can improve our knowledge also. When we explain something to someone else, we can improve our knowledge. This is not only for the knowledge, for the goods, for the properties, money, our home, car, foods, so many things. So there are 4 kinds of maccharya mentioned in the commentary. So here I don't have time to explain in detail. Stinginess for dwelling place. People who, especially these are explained for monks. So we can apply for the ladies also. stinginess for dwelling place, stinginess for family. It's also for monks mentioned in the commentary. So they have supporters. They don't like their supporters to support to other monks. That's it, stinginess for family, stinginess for gain. That's also labha we call, for monks, we call labha in Pali. There are some monks those who receive many offerings, gift. So they don't want to share with others. So it happens also in lay community. Stinginess for one's own appearance. Those who are beautiful, they don't like to be beautiful others. Then stinginess of Dhamma. Those who have knowledge, here for, as I mentioned that for monks, those who have knowledge of Dhamma don't like to share their knowledge with others. So we can apply this for also lay community. Those who have knowledge don't like to share their knowledge with others. Next one, so kukucha, regret. It's also, so scholars also mention it as the term as translate as worry. Siddhatthā mentioned that it would be better to use remorse or regret, better than the worry. Kukucha may arise regarding two aspects. The evil deeds having done and the unwholesome actions that have not accumulated or committed. For example, someone has done wrong deeds, bad deeds, such as killing, stealing, or telling lies. He removes it again and again. I have done these unwholesome actions. I have blamed to my parents. So by thinking, you can't get anything. You get nothing, just worrying. By this worrying, it can only strengthen the unwholesome volition, unwholesome karma. The next side is, you can't do wholesome deeds. So you think that people think, so I couldn't practice sila in last 10 years, or I couldn't do meditation. It's worrying, thinking about the past that have not done, the wholesome actions have not done. By thinking, you cannot obtain wholesome actions. It's a useless thing. Just regretting again and again. People sometimes think that this is good nature. Actually, according to the philosophy of Buddhism, Abhidhamma, it's unwholesome nature. So how many kukucha arise with two those mula citta? So we have discussed the group of 4, dosa, issa, macchariya, kukucha. hatred, envy, stinginess, and regret. Those 4 cetasikas arise in 2 dosamula chittas. They associate to dosamula chittas. The last one, no, so we have 2 more. Let's give more 5 more minutes. Tina and Middha. Sloth and torpor. Sloth and torpor also arise together. So can you remember how many sasankharika chittas in akusala? There are 5 sasankharika chittas. The sloth is like that's a stinginess or dullness of mind. Torpor is actually the dullness nature or morbid state of mental factors. It dispels energy. Sloth dispels energy in our mind. Torpor is like a unwieldiness of mental factors. So when the sloth and torpor arise in our mind, we feel we are sinking. So that's a manifestation of the sloth. It's sinking our mind. Also, the same nature, torpor, the drooping or nooding, we feel sleepiness. Please try to understand, the sleepiness is not a Tina and Middha. That's a result, or that's a manifestation of the sloth and torpor. When you are reluctant to do unwholesome actions, that's also nature of the sloth and torpor. The lack of driving power. The sloth is like a sickness of consciousness. Torpor is like a sickness of mental factors. So those are the nature of the sloth and torpor. Sloth and torpor arise in sloth and torpor associate 5 sasankharika chittas. So now you know the association of the chitta and cetasikas. I think you can do exercises. The last one, vicikiccha, doubt. Here doubt signifies not all the doubts. Here spiritual doubt. Inability to place your confidence or trust in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And the training means Sila, Samadhi, Panya, virtue, concentration, and wisdom. It's the wavering nature or indecisiveness. It's like you cannot choose or you cannot decide which is correct. You are wavering about the Buddha's qualities. Suppose, for example, someone think that Buddha has eradicated all the defilements or not. Is the wavering nature of the mind. By practicing this Dhamma, can we attain liberation or not? So that's the wavering nature. Is the Buddha omniscient one or not? So that's the nature of the doubt. So it's also one of the easiest cetasika. Vicikiccha arise in only vicikiccha sahagata chitta. So which one? 11th Akusala Chitta. Pekka Sahagata, Vichikicca Sampayutta, Vichikicca Sahagata Chitta. Now you have learned the nature of the unwholesome mental factors and their associations with regards to unwholesome chittas. Now you have learned unwholesome mental factors, also invariable, that means universal and occasional, Sabbacita Sadharana and Pakinnaka. Today, Akusala Cetasika. So how many Akusala Cetasikas? There are 14 Akusala Cetasikas. Sabba Kusala Sadharana, 4, Moha, Ahirika, Anuttappa, Uddhacca. Loba, Tika, Loba, Ditti, Mana. Dosa Chatukka, Dosa, Issa, Machariya, Kukkucca. Then sloth and torpor, Thinamidda, doubt. Altogether, 14 unwholesome mental factors. You can enumerate, you can count the Cetasikas in unwholesome chittas. So please pay attention for the feeling. If it's pleasurable feeling, Somanassa, Piti arises. If it's neutral or Upekha or Domanassa, unpleasurable, Piti does not arise. And also pay attention for the Sasankarika and Asankarika. Thinamidda arise with Sasankarika Akusala Chittas. Thinamidda do not arise with Asankarika. These are the main conditions that you should pay attention. I think you can count the Cetasikas, association of the Cetasikas with regards to that Chittas. So that's all for today. Shall we share the merits and conclude our class? Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkhantu sambuddha sasanam. Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkhantu sambuddha desanam. Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkhantu sambuddha savake chiran rakkhantu mam param. Buddha sasanam chiran titthato, Buddha sasanam chiran titthato, Buddha sasanam chiran titthato, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.